Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm giving it a couple minutes or a few moments here before I get rolling. All right. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure it depends on where you're at watching me, but most everybody should be in the afternoon. Let me know if you guys can hear me or not. How does the audio sound? Give me a comment or something and let me know if you guys are hearing me okay, if all's going through well, because I definitely want you guys to be able to hear me as I talk about these issues. Hey, sounds good, bro. Hey, man, I be hitting you up, brother. You got a bad habit of not returning messages. I mean, I'm not necessarily one to talk, but hit me up, man. So we definitely hit me up this afternoon. As a matter of fact, when I'm done here, if you got a minute, hit me up because there's something I want to talk to you about going on tomorrow. And if you have the time, it'd be cool if you could jump in with me. But once again, we'll talk about it afterwards, man. So hit me up when I'm done here, if you can. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to share a screen with y'all today. There was a incident that took place. I think it took place on the 10th. Matter of fact, my notes here says it took place on the 10th. A shooting that took place in Killeen, Texas, and it's pretty controversial. It didn't. It's gained a fair amount of attention, but it didn't blow up for various reasons. And I'll get into some of those as we progress through the video. But I really want you guys to see this. Hey, Salgado, what's up, brother? Hey, I really want y'all to see this, and I'm going to share with everyone my opinions on it. And for those other officers out there, feel free to disagree with me. I have no problem with that. I would love a dialogue. I'd love for my audience and anyone watching to hear our exchange, respectful exchange, of course. And I think that the viewing audience could definitely grow and learn from some of the things we might be talking about today. So I'm going to go and share this screen with y'all, and we will get the ball rolling here. All right. We'll go and get the video fired up. One second here. And there's some details on the screen. I'm going to read it to you. Killeen, Texas, January 10th, 2021, at approximately 5:29 p.m., officers were dispatched to the 1600 block of Carrollton Avenue in reference to a 911 call, in reference to a psychiatric call. I'll let the video go ahead and get rolling here, and then I'll stop it here and there like I typically do, and then I'll comment and offer my perspective. But I'm going to do the best I can to let most of the video roll, and then we can discuss it.
Charles Noah Robert 9531. Charles Noah Robert 9531. Also Texas John.
Okay, real quick. Once again, I think I mentioned that, but just want for the record, the individual who was having the mental health crisis is Patrick Warren, and the officer is Ronaldo Contreras. He's a 5-year veteran of the Killeen Police Department.
0031. John 0031.
Hey, what's up, Edwin? How's the audio? You guys hear it well?
Killeen Police. Is the door open? Hello. Hey. Okay.
How are you? Come on in. Come on in.
Okay. Hold on, man. Let me.
No, come on.
Okay.
Come on in.
No. I'm gonna walk back out. I don't work like this.
Okay.
Give me the channel.
So I think he said, give me the channel. I think he basically called for a red. For those of you who aren't familiar with police jargon, let me pause this real quick. Hold on a second. For some reason, I can't interact with the screen. I'll just let it play. Mark always got to say something smart. Okay, real quick. For those of you who aren't familiar with police jargon, when someone says, give me the channel, or they call for a code red, that's the verbiage we use here in Las Vegas. The incident is a potential high risk. It could be a potentially deadly situation. Typically, if you're in I'll give you a couple of examples. If you're in a car stop with a vehicle that's stolen, or if you're responding to a robbery call, or like a bank robbery or something like that, you'll want to have control over the radio, so you don't have a lot of officers jumping back and forth on the radio in case things escalate and they get worse. You just basically want control of the radio so you can handle your situation, get everything under control, and then you say code 4 or whatever the verbiage that you use for your agency, so that things can go back to functioning normally. All right, let's get back. So he goes in the house. It's just a weird situation. The suspect was down the hall. I think he was calling him down the hall. And I think the officer just didn't feel right the way things were going down. So he backed out of the house and he asked for control of the channel. So I'm assuming he's going to wait to make entry and wait until backup arrives. That's the only thing I could think of, what he might be thinking. Can I make the screen bigger? I can.
All right, come outside. There's about 6 of them in there, and he came rushing at the door.
I think.
He closed the door on me, so just waiting for more units.
Yes, waiting for more units.
Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. On the case of point. Let me see your hands. Get down on the ground. 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 You're gonna get tased. You're gonna get tased. One taste. One taste. Lay down on your back. Lay down on the back. Lay back. I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna shoot you. Shut fire. Shut fire. Shut fire. Stop. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Stay down. Right here by my car. Turn around. Lay down on the ground. Let me help you. Lay down on the ground. Lay down on the ground now. Lay down on the ground. I will help you. You let me lay down on the ground. Lay down on the ground. Lay down on the ground. Sir, please lay down on the ground. Seal. Please lay down on the ground.
Y'all still there? My screen's froze up on me as far as the video. Let me know if you guys can still hear me.
Please lay down on the ground.
Please,
Please, we're gonna help you.
lay down.
We're gonna help you there. Put the cuffs on. Put the cuffs Hey, back up, back up, back up, back up.
Where'd you shoot him at, Ray?
I don't
Okay.
take charges on shot. Okay.
I need to roll over this way. I need to find where you shot at.
Yeah. Had no choice, man. Damn it.
All right, I'm gonna pause it right there, y'all, because I really want to discuss this here. First of all, yeah, I had a little technical difficulty, so forgive me with that. But I want to know what you guys think about that. I can rewind it and show it again. The main shooting was blurred out, so I should have no problem. Facebook and YouTube shouldn't give me too many problems with sharing this. They can be a little weird at times, obviously. We all know that, especially nowadays. But I'd like to know what you guys think about that before I comment, because yeah, so I'll give y'all a second. I'll give y'all a few seconds. And if you need me to rewind that to the rewind it, because it all happened in a short span of time. So if you'd like for me to rewind it, and then we'll play it through, and then we could talk about it a little more. Yeah, Ray, as far as I can see, and from what I've read, as far as additional information with this call, is that the suspect was not armed. So that's what I've heard so far. Yeah, okay, yeah, I like that, Brenda. Hands out, no weapons. Yeah, matter of fact, what I'm going to do, y'all, I'm going to back up and show I'm gonna show a little bit more of this. I'm gonna speed through it a bit. I'm gonna show the officer as he's entering into the house initially, or attempts to make entry into the house, and then I'm gonna get speed up to the point to where the suspect or the individual, Patrick Warren, comes out.
Hey, okay.
How are you?
Come on in. Come on in. Okay. Hold on, man. Let me.
No, come on.
Okay. Come
on in.
No. I'm gonna walk back out. I don't work like this. Give me the channel.
Okay. Now I'd like to comment right there. I'm sorry, I should have made that a little bigger, y'all. Forgive me on that. Let me try that again. I want y'all to be able to see this. Back up a little bit.
Today, a video video
Whoops.
was released in the Patrick Warren case.
Excuse me there.
Taken the day before Warren was shot.
Okay. Come on in. Come on in.
Okay. Hold on, man. Let me.
No, come on.
Okay.
Come on in.
No. I'm gonna walk back out. I don't work like this.
Give me
the check.
Okay, I'm gonna pause right there and we'll talk about that. Yeah, Maria, definitely. Put your comment here. I put Ray's comment. Big guy rushing the cop. Was a cop of smaller stature? I'm really not sure. Hopefully we'll find that out a little bit later. Heather said, couldn't see if he was armed. How to make a quick decision with the male charging the officer. Yeah, that's a possibility. That's a possibility, definitely. So here's my take on this whole thing. Well, let me continue on with the video. I want more to be seen. But I'll say up to this point, he makes entry. He walks in. The people sitting on the right side, they seem kind of chill and relaxed. No one seems to really be freaking out. But there is the guy down the hall saying, come on in, and fanning him down there. And it looks as if his left hand is somewhat behind his back. His left hand isn't initially visible. So that might have concerned the officer a little bit. He's down the hall. You're there for a person who has a history. You're there on a call for someone who has mental health issues. And they're fanning you down the hall, and they got a hand hiding behind their back or out of sight. At least I'll say that. I don't know if it was intentional that his hand was out of sight. So I'll say, yeah, he had his left hand out of sight. And that was probably what led the officer to decide to back out and then call for additional unit. But prior to him leaving, the suspect shows both hands and there's nothing there. Now, could he have had something concealed in his waistband? That is entirely possible. What I'm trying to do here is just offer the perspective of the officer. The officer could just be, these are all the things that could be going through their head during a situation like this. Could be going through his head. I'm not attempting to read his mind, but I'm putting myself in that position with the training and experience I had when I was working, what might have been going through my head. But let's continue on. I'll forward it. He can hear him in the room. He can hear him in the background making noise, screaming.
He closed the door on me, so just waiting for more units.
Tell you about that?
Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. On the taser point. Let me see your hands. Get down on the ground. Get down on the ground. Get down on the ground.
Okay, so far at this point I have no issue with anything that he's doing right now, the officer. I have no issue with anything that he's doing. Suspect comes out. He's clearly under some type of mental duress or stress, and he's not under control. He doesn't have control of himself, clearly, and he's just acting real irate. He's angry. He's flailing his arms. He's not cooperating with the officer. He's not complying with his verbal commands. Read your comment. So he tased them and it didn't work. How much are we supposed to retreat? The cop left the house to de-escalate. Suspect came out and then rushed the cop. The suspect escalated the incident. I totally agree. I totally agree so far. But Once again, let's continue on with the video.
Get down on the ground. You're gonna get tased. You're gonna get tased. One taste, one taste. Lay down on your back.
Oh, and initially when I first saw the video, my initial response was he should have attempted to cuff him under power while the taser, while the electricity was flowing through his body. He should have attempted to handcuff him at that moment. But man, his response was quick. He got back up. I don't know if that officer would have had the opportunity to do that. I don't think he had time. Put your comment up here, Vinny. How many calls for service to this address on this guy? And what about the violent history? Excellent points, brother. Excellent points. That's why I wanted to go live and talk about these things, because right now these are factors that we don't know. But I do have, after this video is up, I do have some additional information that brings sheds a little bit of a light on his history. When people are experiencing excited delirium, they possess incredible strength. They have the ability to disarm the officer. Very true. For those of you who aren't familiar with what excited delirium is, it's a state that someone could be in if they're under a mental health crisis, but also can have be drug related as well. And the two kind of go hand in hand. The suspect's body temperature increases tremendously, and they become very non-compliant, and they can become very combative. And it is a very dangerous situation for them to be in. And many police departments across the country have established a protocol as to how their officers are to respond to situations like that. This stupid video keeps popping up. I'm trying to, that's what's in the background. Sorry about that. But I'll be getting to that video that's playing in the background. I'll be getting to that here shortly. But so yeah, but this guy got up real quick, and I don't think the officer had time to attempt to handcuff him. Unfortunately, he arrived on scene by himself. He didn't have an additional officer, and the suspect really didn't give him much time to react any other way.
Lay down on the back. Lay back. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to shoot you. Shut fire. Shut fire. Shut fire.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Okay, this is where I have issue, and this is where I'm probably going to have disagreement with some of my fellow officers here. Possibly. I was in full agreement with everything that took place up until that point. And once again, I'm going on what we know right now. There could be mitigating factors, or there could be factors involved that I'm currently unaware of that would totally change my perspective. So I want to put that caveat out there so y'all understand my perspective. It could easily change if there's more, if additional information comes about. But right now, my biggest concern, here's my big concern, is that and one point that Ray brought up was the physical stature, physical difference. I'm not aware of what that difference was or difference is. And Ray, you know where I'm going with this, so I'm not going to mention any names, but you know where I'm going with this. My question is, was deadly force the necessary next option in this situation? Was this the best option in this encounter? It concerns me that oftentimes many officers have a limited skill set Their physical fitness is atrocious. They only practice any type of defensive tactics when they're made to. Knowing the threats, knowing the dangers of the job in and of itself. It really concerns me how that oftentimes it seems to be the easy way out, for lack of a better term, that the next step will be, he went from taser to deadly force. I'm just asking this. And once again, I wasn't on scene. I'm just asking this. What's wrong with holstering your taser and saying, let's go? At least giving that a go and seeing how it ends up. Am I crazy, y'all? I mean, honestly, am I crazy for asking that question? Because it really concerns me that that oftentimes, obviously not in every situation, but oftentimes there are many officers, and those of us who have been in law enforcement, we know those guys. I guarantee that anybody who's in law enforcement who's listening to me automatically thought of a few names. If I asked you, think of there were a few guys that you would rather not be on a call with because you knew that they really couldn't have your back. They were physically incapable of truly having your back. That's my big concern. That's my big issue. That's the area that I wonder. And I'll put it out there like that. I wonder, was that the only route? And man, because I've dealt with guys that have been mentally ill, and I've had to go hands-on with them. And by the grace of God, I ended up on top every single time. But then at the same time, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, and I'm not assuming that incident, that if I was there, that I would have got the best of this guy. I'm not going to say that because I don't know. But what I do know is that I did everything in my power to take care of myself. Physical fitness, I tried to keep it as high as possible. My martial arts background, I trained in martial arts since I was 17 years old. And I consistently did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Krav Maga, Muay Thai. I was a defensive tactics instructor. So the only thing I had, I wasn't just a badge and a gun. There was more in my tool belt, which as a result gave me more options when I faced potentially dangerous situations. So that is probably my biggest concern in this entire encounter. I really want to know what you guys think. And I was talking, I kind of went on my little rant there, but I'm going to scroll to the comments and see what other people say, what other people are thinking in this area. I'm going to read some of the comments here. Some of you guys are writing kind of long, but we're going to read them and we're going to have a good dialogue here. And I want to keep this, I don't want to go too long, but I wouldn't, if you guys are cool with me going about an hour or so, if it needs to go there, if we get through all the comments and everything and the other videos I need to show, then so be, but we'll try to keep it, I'll try to keep it relatively brief. Until the public demands better training and a better selection process for hiring police officers, you'll see more of the same. Departments settle for the bare minimum training required by law and then hope the officer doesn't screw up or get killed. Officers hope they don't have to respond to a call that requires more than their meager skill set allows them to do. Members of the public hope they don't get killed by a poorly trained cop. Unfortunately, relying on hope alone is a poor life. Now, I agree with some of what you're saying. I think there's truth to that. I'm not going to co-sign everything, Charles, but I agree, especially in the area where you say and I think we're at that point right now where the public should demand or is demanding better training and a better selection process for the hiring of police officers.
Today, new video was released.
I'm just going to close this thing out here. This video keeps popping up, getting on my nerves here.
Warren was shot and killed by a Killeen.
I don't know if you guys are hearing that, but yeah, I think that there's some truth to the fact that there should be, I think it all depends on the agency. Now, I know with Metro, the hiring standard was pretty. The whole process was pretty intense. However, I can speak on situations where they allow people through the cracks because they needed bodies. I could think of one in particular, and the guy eventually ended up getting terminated and I can't recall why, but that there is some truth to that. But I think it might be a little overkill on some of the things that you said, because I don't think it's just wholesale. And I'm not saying that that's what you're saying, but I think that I think there are definitely some officers, as I was saying as well, who are only concerned about doing the bare minimum. There are some who definitely fit that standard. Now I want to see what everybody else has to say here. I'm trying to get used to the technology, y'all, so forgive me. But again, remember, mentally challenged persons have incredible strength. You're not crazy, but it's a risky move for an officer. Yeah, you know what, Ray? That's true, but that's not always true. During my time in the jail, I did mental health evaluations with the psychiatrist every day for 2 years. And that was and in that two-year period, I got into more fights than any time throughout my 21 years in law enforcement total. If you count my the time working in the prison and in the jail and on the streets, those 2 years I had more physical confrontations than in any other time throughout my law enforcement career. That time alone, 2 years. So I agree that it's risky, but we're talking deadly force. We're talking having to take someone's life. I can't say, based on what I know right now and what I've seen, that I would have. And granted, I'm 6'2", around 228 pounds, and I work out regularly. Yeah, I know that plays a role, but I can't say that that's what I would have done. I just can't say that. I just really can't. I'm 5'6", 165, but I grew up wrestling and boxing, so I was used to a fight. But a big suspect in mental crisis where the taser did not work is deadly force time. Like I said, when it's all said and done, my opinion and your opinion, Vinny, brother, it's ultimately what the courts say. So I'm with you on that. But man, I'm just not saying it. Personally, I just really struggle with saying that would have been the next option for me, is to shoot the guy. I just can't do it. And like you said, you're 5'6", 165. So that is a factor. I'm 8 inches taller. I'm heavier, about 60 some pounds, almost 70 pounds heavier. Those factors matter, and I'm not trying to minimize that. But I personally, and again here, we're giving our personal opinions. I don't know about that. I just couldn't. I can't say that that's the route I would have went. Trying to get Ray's comment up here. Very true. All I'm saying is, what would you have done, Ray? Honestly, what do you think you would have done? Do you think that would have been your first response, was to shoot him? And if you say yes, I'd be surprised. But knowing what I know about you, I'd be shocked. And hey, man, but like I said, we're having an honest and open dialogue here, y'all. I really appreciate us having this conversation. Remember the training from the academy about black belt karate chop that tries to disarm a guy with a knife? Cop almost got killed. Sometimes your skill level isn't enough. Big difference here, though, bro. Big difference. This dude didn't have a knife on him. And like I said, black belt karate guy tried to disarm a guy with a knife. Yeah, I ain't doing that. I ain't trying to do that. That is a clear deadly force encounter. This right here, I don't think it's that clear, personally. You think it'll start foot shuffling all over the place? Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, man. I'm just looking through some of the comments here. Some of the other folks, I'd love to hear some of the comments from some of the civilians here and get your perspective. Don't feel as if your voice isn't desired, that no one wants to hear your voice. I want to hear what some of you other folks think. Some of you non-cops, because Ray and Vinny, y'all blowing it up, and I appreciate that. But I want to hear what you guys think. And let me back up, because I might have missed a few comments, so I apologize. So I'm getting used to this whole StreamYard. I got a new system going, and I'm trying to get familiar with it. And I got a lot of comments coming in, so which is a good thing. I wanted this to be interactive. Trying to see here if I see anything else. You know, shuffling and hopefully get in a position to take him down. That's what I thought you would have said, man. I recall in a particular situation where we were talking about a deadly force encounter, and I will not mention any names. And we both had the mindset that if we were there, things might have went a little different. And I think we just have a different perspective, a different way of looking on situations. But like I said, we were just speculating. Yeah, Nisha, you missed all the excitement, but it'll be up and you can watch it whenever you want to. But I still have another video to show, so just hang tight, and it's still associated. The size and skill level and experience on the job play a lot. Oh, absolutely. Play a lot of, have a lot to do with it as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, these are all factors. These are all things that need to be considered, especially from the outside looking in. That's why I wanted to know I wanted to try to find out how much time he had on the department. So this video keeps popping up. Let me go ahead and play this thing. This video keeps popping up and disturbing me while I'm talking. So I'm going to stop this screen share here. Pull up another one. I think this is it here. All right, I'm going to let this one, rewind this one, let this one go.
Today, new video was released in the Patrick Warren case. It was taken the day before Warren was shot and killed by a Killeen.
I'll make it a little bigger.
In it, a deputy trained to handle mental health episodes responds to the house after Warren's family called for help. And as 6 News reporter Andrew Moore shows us, there is a stark difference in the way two similar calls on 2 different days were handled.
Warren's family says a trained Bell County deputy came out the day before Warren was shot, was able to de-escalate the situation, and then get Warren some help. In these few brief seconds of Ring doorbell footage, you'll be able to see the differences between that trained deputy and the officer who would later shoot Warren. The Lee Merritt law firm provided this Ring doorbell video to 6 News. As you can see in the video, the trained deputy is relaxed, not in full uniform, and is not visibly carrying a gun. But he also put in the time. If you look at the time stamps, he made first contact with the family around 10:40, and he didn't leave with Warren until 11:53, more than an hour later. When Officer Contreras responded the next day, he was pacing outside the house, and he walked into the house and right back out in the same video clip.
Okay, I want to stop right there. Man, the way they're wording this, they are just basically trying to smear this dude. And they're assuming that just because you're dealing with the same guy, that he was at his actions and his mental state was identical the next day. I've dealt with people that had mental problems, and I've seen them flip from One time I did a tour of the unit, checking rooms. To the next time I come around, they're snarling and they're punching the glass and the bars and banging their heads up against the wall in minutes. So why are we going to assume that this dude was going to be acting completely the same exact way as he was prior when the first officer showed up the day before? They're framing these two incidents like you're dealing with the same suspect. You should have responded the same exact way. Why did one officer take his time? He looked like he didn't have a gun. To do that, a jacket on the outside, you can't see whether he has a gun on him or not. And I'm pretty sure that if he's a true police officer, sheriff, law enforcement officer, he's carrying a firearm out in public. I'm pretty sure of that. And so all I'm saying is you just can't assume or expect someone and each call to be identical, even when you're dealing with the same person, because that's not always the case. Check out some of these comments here. I'm gonna. Absolutely, Nisha. Absolutely, it differs. Yeah, my point is, the thing the public, see, what the thing that pisses me off about that video we just watched, and I'm going to let more of it play. The thing that bothers me the most is that for the uneducated audience, and that's not a knock, that's not a slight, those people who aren't in law enforcement and who aren't at least willing to say, to consider a different perspective. They'll hear those claims made by this news channel, and their response will be, see, and on the video in the comments, there's a similar video like this on YouTube, and in the comments, one of the comments that got the most likes was, and this is why we need to defund the police. Ridiculous. But anyway, but the average citizen, or some of the average citizens out there, especially those who aren't particularly fond of the police, they'll hear this, they'll watch this newscast, and their response will be something along those lines. Or why didn't the officer just go in there and just be patient with the guy? Or why didn't the officer respond to him like the previous officer did the day prior? And I'm being and I'm a guy who's kind of being critical of the second officer as far as the amount of force that he brought. And I'm at least honest enough to say, hey, the way things happened on one day, you can't compare two different calls. You just can't do it. It's just silly. If any of y'all out there think that that's a good idea, that if that's a good comparison, please talk to me, because and go to my YouTube channel, watch some more of my videos, because I have a video as a matter of fact that is titled "Why You Shouldn't Compare Different Incidents." You shouldn't compare them, because things can escalate and they could be so radically different. So many factors play in. The time of day, the individual skill set, as Vinny mentioned earlier, of the officers, the experience of the officers, the size, so many different factors. But let's check out some of the comments here real quick. I can imagine, bro. I can definitely imagine. That's why I'm looking forward to us having a conversation, man. Definitely. As a former mental health professional, my encounter with clients varied. Absolutely, Heather. Thank you for adding that. Thank you. It can be so different night and day. I recall one dude, he loved me for some reason. And I can't remember his last name. And he's always called me, for some reason, he never called me Muldrow. He would call me Mopelary. Like that was my name, Officer Mopelary. He actually thought that was my name, which is hilarious in and of itself. But when he saw me, 90% of the time, he was totally cool. But but every once in a while, I would see this guy, and this guy would be so out of his mind and so potentially dangerous and violent. It was like I was talking. It was like he was animalistic, and that's just being honest. That's the best way I can put it. He wouldn't even talk. He would just grunt and groan, and it was nuts. Many times I had to cut our visit short and report due to my concern of safety, and many other crimes or times. My clients were calm and receptive to my instructions. Absolutely, Heather. Absolutely. I've been there. Been there. Exactly, that is true. We have a policy at Metro if someone is experiencing excited delirium, a sergeant and crisis intervention officer and 2 or more patrol officers, but it's not always feasible due to manpower and or cops too busy on other calls. I recall, I definitely remember that. But Ray, I just want to say, are we sure that this guy was in an excited delirium? I don't know if you can make that assessment, because some people just become violent when they're mentally ill. If you're schizophrenic, bipolar, I've seen people and they weren't always in an excited delirium state. So just something to throw out there. Let me get back to the video here real quick and we'll wrap this bad boy up. For some reason, it didn't let me pause.
Today, new video was released in the
See if I can get up to where we were.
Uniform and is not visibly carrying a gun, but he also put in the time. If you look at the time stamps, he made first contact with the family around 10:40, and he didn't leave with Warren until 11:53, more than an hour later. When Officer Contreras responded the next day, he was pacing outside the house, and he walked into the house and right back out in the same video clip.
Never mentioning at all. Whoops, sorry about that. Make the camera size a little bigger. At no point did they mention the fact that of what went on in the house. At no point did they mention that. And that's why people get this is how cops get slandered in the media all the time.
30 seconds. Killeen PD hasn't responded to any of our questions about the incident or about their resources, and it's not clear if Contreras had any idea what situation he was walking into. Merit Law Firm attorney Blair Elmazi says war departments need trained professionals that can handle these calls, and people are dying as a result.
It really is a crisis in America. Police officers shooting, people experiencing mental health crisis. Every police department looking to address that issue should have an office specifically dedicated to training and dispatching officers capable of handling those calls.
Now, I agree with what he said about their officers should be receiving that type of training. And I wonder why they're I wonder why they didn't have it. Could be budgetary reasons. Now, I'm sure that they'll make amends now because this is a case that's receiving national attention. But the assumption that's made here is that if someone's in a mental health crisis, it's a unstated assumption, but they're coming across as if someone is in a mental health crisis that there should be no way an officer should ever have to shoot them. And I'm just going to say right here, that's nonsense, because there have been plenty of times where people become extremely violent, and your hand is forced. The individual officer's hand is forced, and he or she has no other option but to use deadly force. Right here, I just question whether that there could have been a different route. That's just my personal perspective. Another officer joins the officer in the first video. See the patrol car appear. Yeah, at the end of the video. Yeah, good point, Mark. And but yeah, we don't know what time frame that was, and it's unfortunate how things went down. It's very unfortunate how things went down. It's very sad, and yeah, I wish things could have been handled differently. And I really want and even though I think I came down pretty hard on the guy, I think that I still want to also remind myself and remind everyone that we don't have every bit of the details. We don't have it all. We don't know everything that went down. I would love to hear his side of the story. Maybe it'll be on Court TV or something like that, or maybe they'll post the video of the if it goes to trial, or even the what do they call it again? Not the coronary report. When they have a what do they call it here in Vegas, Ray, Vinny, when the officer has to go in front of court and talk about the shooting. I'm just drawing a blank right now. Help me out, guys, in the comments. But when they, but hopefully they'll air it so where we can actually see see his testimony, his perspective. So, yeah, it's not the grand jury. That's not what I'm thinking of. It's usually when there's a shooting that takes place, when the officers have to go before the judge and and it was oftentimes it's publicized here, or they used to make it public, and they would just give their story. They would explain everything that went down. And for some reason, I'm just drawing a blank on it. Oh, okay. All right, okay, Vinny. I didn't know that. Check out the ring video here. The first visit lasted 13 minutes. Timestamps here. Okay. No, was the first officer a female? I couldn't tell. No, I think it was a male. It just it looked like an older guy. I don't think it was a female, the first officer. Yeah, fatal review. Was that it? Yeah, I think. Fatal review. I think so. But for some reason, I'm thinking of it, there's a different name. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Heather. I'm thinking the officer the day before looked like an older man. Maybe I'm just let me go back to the video and rewind it. Get back to the first officer here. Now it looks like a dude.
But he also put in the time.
Yeah, and they're referring to him as he.
Stamps. He made first contact with the family around 10:40, and he didn't leave with Warren until 11:53, more than an hour later, when Officer Contreras responded the next.
Yeah. So anyway, but. Yeah, it's the whole thing is unfortunate. And you know what? Let me show the final tidbits of this video here. Get back to where we were.
Officer shooting, people experiencing mental health crisis. Every police department looking to address that issue should have an office specifically dedicated to training and dispatching officers capable of handling those calls.
Amalfi told us Mertz Law Firm is currently handling 12 similar cases. The family of Warren told us they had asked for that same deputy to come back out on Sunday, but they could not get him on the phone. Andrew Moore, 6 News.
And 6 News did reach out to the Bell County Crisis Response Division today, as well as the deputy who responded in this case, but neither picked up the phone. It is still not clear just how many trained deputies the county has to handle these types of calls.
Yeah. Well, put some more comments up here. Maybe the first cop was used to dealing with this guy, and this guy liked that cop. That's all that is. All that is very possible. All that is very possible. I've been in situations where guys were just familiar with me. They were used to me. No one else could talk to them, but I could. And I'm sure most of us have. Coroner's inquest. That's it, Ray. Thank you, brother. Thank you. It was driving me nuts over here. But yeah, familiarity can go a long way. And if you dealt with someone, even if they're wigging out, it could be, it could be beneficial. One thing I want to bring up, it could be very helpful. One thing I want to bring up real quick before we roll out of here is the fact that he was just there the day prior. What was it like? I'm assuming it might have been what, a 24-hour review or something along those lines, and they release him, and then the next day he's and I know every state's different. Nevada has some horrific mental health policies and laws, and unfortunately you have to deal with people time and time again, and unless unless you can articulate that they are a danger to themselves or someone else, there's not a whole lot you can really do. So I don't know what happened the day prior that called them over, where the officer was needed to come over, but it's just unfortunate that he didn't get the help that he needed that very first day. Watch the video I posted of the first cop. It's only 37 seconds with timestamp. Did you post the link here? Oh, it's on YouTube. Yeah, I don't think I can click the link from here. Could be why the officer the day before, was relaxed. Excellent point. Love to know about the history of the calls to this home and hear from other officers called there. And I can guarantee you, Heather, that will be an issue when it goes to court, that will be brought up. It could be that he has demonstrated himself violent, and when the officer is driving, responding to the call, he could have been getting all that information, and that matters. That definitely matters. Criminal history does play a role in the decision making for an officer. No question about it. No question about it. Why was he released less than 24 hours after the first officer was involved? If he was that much in crisis, that was my question, bro. Same exact question. Crazy, but man. But hey, I appreciate y'all jumping in and joining in on the dialogue. I especially appreciate those of y'all who didn't agree, and we can just have a good exchange. I think when it's all said and done, I'll be the first to admit I don't have all the answers, and that the reality is that reasonable officer, there is some leeway there when it comes to that standard in determining how much force is necessary. And there are factors that play a role in that decision-making process for every individual officer. No question. And all right, Heather, you take care. Thanks for stopping by. And real quick before I roll, I want to just point here about Vinny. He was in his officer involved shooting. He was supposed to be on a 72-hour hold, but city released him. Yep. Happens. That kind of nonsense happens all the time. But anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all stopping by. I'm really hoping to start doing this on a more consistent basis, just jumping in, having a passionate, fruitful dialogue. I think, hey, feel free to share these videos if you think it'll be helpful to anyone. For those of you out there who are watching who haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel or don't follow me on Facebook at Code Red Conversations, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. And the more you share it, I really want to influence the culture. I really want this country to understand that all cops aren't bad, and that and that we have been fed so much garbage by the media when it comes down to officers. Officers in general, especially this last year, have been made to be the total bad guy. So if you could share the content I have, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And that's it for today. So in the meantime, stay safe, God bless, and make sure you join the conversation. Hit me up, Ray. Later.